So without further ado, Brooklyn Tech kids, here we go.
Hi, my name is Daniel Ochoa. I'm a junior at Brooklyn Technical High School, and I am part of our school's chapter of Bring Change to Mind. So we are part of a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to encouraging dialogue about mental health and to raise awareness, understanding, and empathy. So our high school program, which we are currently in, empowers us to educate one another and create a community that's supportive of talking about mental health. And together, we put the stigma towards mental health.
So before we get into the more informative parts of our presentation, we'd love to get to know everyone in the call a little bit more. So if you can, please head on over to menti.com and enter the code 5517768. There should be about 2 poll questions there waiting for you, but we really just want to get a feel for the room. So we'd really appreciate it if you could go to that link and enter the code. And Ethan will be switching over to that slide soon. So the first question we wanted to ask was how often your family talked about mental health when you were younger and when you were around your kids' ages, and how often you talk to your kids about mental health. So we'll give you a few more seconds just to answer that, but in no way feel pressured to answer those questions. We really just want to see a few responses. So just looking at the results that we have so far, the code is 5517768. It's at the top of the screen. If you can see it, it's a little small, but yeah, that should bring you to the poll. But as you can see, a lot of the people on this call didn't really get to talk about mental health when they were kids, and their families didn't really discuss the topic. So today we're going to explain why it's so important to have these conversations and how we can have these conversations in both a productive and in an informative manner. And we're glad to see a lot of you are having these discussions already.
So now let's talk about the basics of mental health. Here are some statistics on mental health on children according to the CDC. Approximately 4.4 million children ages 3 to 17 years have diagnosed anxiety, and about 1.9 million children of the same age group have diagnosed depression. The rates of anxiety and depression for children ages 6 through 17 increased from 5.4% in 2003 to 8.3% in 2011-2012. And lastly, the diagnosis of depression and anxiety are more common as the ages of children increased. And here's a graphic that represents this information. It is shown that the rate of mental health issues significantly increases at the age range of 12 to 17.
So why is mental health important? I'm pretty sure many of you have seen this diagram before, but if you haven't, this is a health triangle, and it helps show why mental health is important. The 3 categories to stay healthy are your physical, mental, and social health. Your physical health is your body's ability to function. This takes into account such as nutrition, exercise, and sleep. Mental health is the ability to deal with stress and to process thoughts and emotions. Social health, relationships with others, it's basically like how a person interacts with their family and friends. It's important to keep all these 3 factors in check, because if one of these health starts to worsen, it would harm the other 2 factors in living a healthy lifestyle, similarly to how it would create an imbalance in this triangle.
So why is it so important to have conversations about mental health with your children? Well, for starters, letting your kids know that you're there to support them whenever they're struggling or if they're having any issues builds a system of trust, and it shows them that it's important to acknowledge the problems that they might be facing in order to be more appreciative of the good days. And we really want to emphasize that these discussions aren't meant to affect your kids negatively, like in any way whatsoever. We just want to show them that it's okay to not be okay all of the time. And so building on that, I kind of wanted to share my personal experience with mental health. So when I was younger, which was not very long ago, admittedly, I was in an environment that didn't really talk about mental health, and I didn't really know what it meant to, maintain my mental well-being. And I didn't really learn about self-care and all of these different strategies until I'd say the last year or so. And in the past, whenever I was like overworked or overstressed, I wouldn't really tell anyone. And instead I kind of took it as like my own personal weakness and how like I was insufficient in a certain way. But you know, recently after learning about like the importance of maintaining my mental well-being, I've been able to really improve, you know, my quality of life and just my overall productivity.
Yeah, and to add on to intellect, for me, my mental health started challenging me in seventh grade. And I think it was mainly because that is the age around the time we're trying to figure out who we are and where we fit in. So I often found myself out of place and I doubted who I was and what I could accomplish. And back then, I didn't really understand what mental health was, and I thought I was the only one going through these issues. And in quarantine, I learned a lot about self care and also being a part of BC2M. And overall, I think the thing that really pulled me out of that mindset was meditation. It taught me to ground myself, to breathe in difficult situations, and it changed how I perceive and interact with myself. So, with that experience, I believe it is very important to talk about mental health early on, especially in middle school.
So how can we take care of our mental and physical well-being? So there are many techniques for self-care, but the two we'll be talking about are journaling and meditation. So journaling helps children and adults alike manage anxiety. By writing down any problems, symptoms, fears, and thoughts, an individual is able to enter a better control and improve their mood. It also provides a method of identifying negative thoughts and encouraging positive self-talk. There's also meditation, as Brittany said before. Meditation not only helps people manage stress, it also encourages people to cultivate peaceful, a peaceful state of mind. It increases a person's ability to focus and reduces mind wandering. Studies show that meditation also increases mental resilience and satisfaction in life.
And we understand that our parents do a lot for us and it can get stressful and overwhelming at times. So here are some foundational self-care tips for parents. Number one, focus on relaxing activities. Do something to take your mind off of the stress, whether that is reading a book or putting on some calm music for yourself. Second, take some time for yourself. You can step outside to savor some fresh air, sit in the car to catch your breath, or watch a funny television show. And lastly, be gentle with yourself. On difficult days, acknowledge that you're having a hard time and lower your expectations. Remind yourself that you're doing the best you can and tomorrow will be a different day.
Yeah, so as parents, it is important to create a safe space with your child to talk about mental health issues. And it is okay to bring up these topics. It will not in any way infringe on them or negatively affect them, because you must reassure them that you're always there and that you always have to offer a hand and that they shouldn't be afraid to approach you about any issue. And it's important to create this bond. And we're at the grade meetings. Want to host different presentations for each individual grade. So for grade 6, we will talk about, I guess, the bridge between elementary school and middle school, as well as adjusting to middle school life, because we know that it's very challenging. There's more expectations, more workloads, and they may have questions as their minds get more mature. And as far as grade 7 is concerned, we know that this is the era in which they start becoming more, I guess, more of high school applications. So we would talk about more academic stress. And in grade 8, we want to talk about, once again, the bridge between middle school and entering high school, because I myself, I know that I wasn't prepared enough to go from middle school to high school. And as I went into high school, I wasn't mentally prepared or academically prepared to handle what was coming towards me because everything was so new. And being one student in a school of 6,000 kids really wasn't the best situation for me. So we do want to touch upon that.
And all of the topics that Daniel just mentioned are just some of the ones that we've brainstormed, but we really want to make these meetings personalized to your needs and our kids' needs. So if you have any recommendations for topics that you want us to touch upon, whether it's about mental health or just like this general idea of high school, please let us know. We'll actually be asking for any recommendations later on in the questions portion of our mini presentation, but thank you. And here are just some resources that you can kind of keep and bookmark if you'd like. We're going to stay on this slide for a few more seconds so that you can screenshot it if you need to. We love all of these resources, and we found that a lot of them are very helpful. So it's definitely, very beneficial to keep these in the back of your mind. And we'll stay here for a few more seconds. All right, so now is the questions portion of our presentation. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about anything we discussed today, or if you have any ideas for topics that you want us to address during these meetings, we'd love to hear them. Yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, boys and girls. That was just a fantastic, fantastic presentation. And I do know that there's at least one question in the chat for you. So if you can take a look at that, or well, I'll just go ahead and share it with you. Can you give some tips on how to get kids outside during these times? What do you think?
Personally, my reason for not going outside has been more of like, the fear of contracting COVID and just like this general, also like the fear of like being an Asian American in a predominantly white area has also like funneled into that. So I guess like every child has different reasons for not wanting to go outside, but if it's more of a, I guess like a lack of motivation to interact with the environment, I would like recommend doing smaller things like, maybe walking to the nearest post office or walking to the nearest like pharmacy. And like, I found that like those smaller tasks help me like go outside more, and they motivate me to go outside a little bit more. I don't know if that was quite what you were looking for, but if anyone else wants to add on to that.
Yeah, sure. So I myself, at one point, I was very reluctant to go outside. I had grown used to staying indoors. But I think a good strategy is, a good way is to just get them out the front door and have them like feel the fresh air, because or open the window, or like kind of get them to feel like the outside world more. Because I think for me, like once I felt that, like once I felt the wind like against me, like I want to go out more. And I would say if they stay in bed too long or like throughout the day, then you should definitely maybe mandate that they sit on a chair first, and eventually to get them off the habit, because that happened to me, and it's hard, but it can be done.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much, boys and girls. Parents, you've got any other questions? Yes, I am so glad. The question is about holding presentations for students. I'm so glad that that's being planned, and that you boys and girls are going to be able to get to work with our students and share some of your insights. And really, I think it's a very powerful thing when young people can connect with each other, and you are really inspirational. And I think you're the kind of students who our younger children can look up to and aspire to kind of want to do, and emulate some of the things that you're doing. If not the same kinds of things, but being engaged with their communities, and putting together groups to really make change. And I'm so very proud of you. And just from the bottom of my heart, thank you for sharing with our families and with our students. Did a fantastic job.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
just to follow up on what Mr. Berman was saying too, we are planning on sending out Google Forms to see who is interested in participating in meetings remotely. They will be done through Zoom. It will be done after school. And we are looking to start with the 7th grade first, then go to the 8th grade, and then go to the 6th grade. We were talking about doing it by grade because we felt that there's a lot of the same issues and concerns that students may have according to the grade that they're in. But more of that will follow come when we get back after our spring break. So be on the lookout.
Thank you, Mrs. Forsyth. And please allow me to apologize for neglecting to mention Mrs. Bishop, who's been working with the children and who is here this evening too. Mrs. Bishop is the second half of our wonderful, wonderful guidance department. Sometimes she's the first half, sometimes she's the second half, and they're interchangeable. But both Melissa and Courtney, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Mr. Labella, do you want to, thank you for sharing that. Yep, you can reach our guidance counselors. And Mrs. Demazatowski, I believe your extension is 2101.
Yes. Yes, I am. I mean, I am working remotely, but if you just email me, or even if you're trying to leave a message or call the school, you know, the office staff has been wonderful trying to relay messages to me. So if you need anything at all, just reach out and I will get back to you.
Great. Mm-hmm. Outstanding.
Yes.
Thanks again, boys and girls.
Well, thank you, Mr. Berman. Everyone should go to reactions in the lower part of your screen and then hit the clap hands and give everybody give our students a wonderful hand. Thank you again so much for doing that. And I wish I was there to give you a real applause. Well, we could do it like this, I guess. Thank you so much for sharing. I know it's pretty tough and it's very impactful. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys are going to do with our virtual students.